School of Engineering. I'd like to welcome you to Da Vinci Day at Virginia Commonwealth University. On this date in 1452, Leonardo da Vinci was born. He remains one of the great geniuses in human history and the essential Renaissance man. In 2007, VCU created the Da Vinci Center to honor and explore Leonardo da Vinci's model of multidimensional intelligence and creativity. Since its inception, the VCU da Vinci Center has engaged teams of students from the schools of engineering and business and the arts in projects that require them to develop together new and innovative approaches to solve significant problems around the issue of product design and development. The problems these teams work on come from the real world. These problems are not remarkably different from those in the time of Da Vinci himself. In the Da Vinci Center, students and faculty explore and sometimes argue about the right approach to solving complex problems. It is this dynamic and creative tension that makes the experience so unique and valuable. Today you will hear about Leonardo da Vinci, the artist, the engineer, and the entrepreneur, from Professor Untitled, a distinguished Da Vinci scholar, writer, and lecturer. You'll also hear from one of the teams that's completing a semester-long project in the Da Vinci Center. Welcome to Da Vinci Day. It's my pleasure now to introduce Jennifer Ference, a graduate student in the School of the Arts and the team leader for Operation Simple. Jennifer Ference.
Thank you. Oh, sorry. About a year ago, in the spring semester of 2008, I was asked by the head of my department, Interior Design, to become a member of a team from the Da Vinci Center. I wasn't familiar at the time with the Da Vinci Center, but I needed the independent study credit, so I said sure. I had no idea what I was signing up for, and I didn't know the roller coaster ride that my life would go on from that point. But I also had no idea the value and the experience that I would gain from that credit, the 2-credit class, that turned into a life-changing experience for me. I met Julie Kabir, who was at the time a biomedical engineering student. She was doing her master's, and she and Dr. Jameson had this vision for bringing cost-effective surgical equipment to third world countries where they couldn't afford what we normally have in the United States. She's from Bangladesh, and so she had a personal connection. And I very quickly became engaged with the project and excited to be a part of the team. I'd like to introduce to you the team that has now, this semester in 2009, continued the work that we began last year. So I'm going to bring up the team. And we've called this project Operation Simple. This is our team for Phase 2. Go ahead and introduce yourselves.
I'm Lauren O'Neill, and I come from the Graphic Design Department.
Christopher Johnson, Mechanical Engineering.
Anna Quison, I'm a business marketing major.
Jennifer Koch, Business Marketing.
I'm Michael Mercier in Mechanical Engineering.
I'm Skylar Roebuck in Computer Engineering.
I'm Mike Garrett, I'm in graphic design.
Thank you. So, Operation Simple, what is it? The goal for Operation Simple was to develop cost-effective surgical equipment for third world countries. It's pretty much as simple as that. We had a Phase 1, like I mentioned, in the spring semester of 2008, which we just sort of started from ground zero. And like we mentioned before, trying to use innovative approaches for product development. It was the opportunity to not come at it with a preconceived idea about designing surgical equipment, but to just completely rethink it from the ground up. So that's what we sort of started to tackle in Phase 1. And we came up with some big idea sort of concepts, but really needed another round to start addressing the reality of making these things happen. So that's where this team comes into play, Phase 2. We gathered a new group of students, combining designers, engineers, and business students, and let them sort of take it into a reality so that we could see this project through to completion. Very short time frame, very challenging task ahead. We kind of let it loose. And it's been an amazing process, and I'm excited today for the team to share their story of their successes and their failures, and hopefully give you guys a little bit of an idea about the Da Vinci Center and how it works. Jennifer?
Thank you, Jennifer. All right. In starting Operation Simple Phase 2, we first had to take a closer look back into Bangladesh to better understand the needs of the Third World. Now, if you're not familiar with Bangladesh, Bangladesh is in Southeast Asia. It borders just around India, along with Burma and the Indian Ocean. It's a country that's heavily burdened by the monsoon season. Now, geographically, Bangladesh is a very small country. It's really only a fraction of the size of the United States. It has over 156 million people. Now, to put this into comparison for you, imagine if you took roughly half the population of the United States and condensed us all into Iowa. That's pretty remarkable, isn't it? This is Bangladesh. Not only is it one of the most densely populated countries in the entire world, it's also one of the very poorest. Now, over half of its people live at the poverty line. They really suffer. And 10% of its people literally are starving. You can see the GDP here. As far as hospital conditions, really the hospitals in Bangladesh are beyond our scope of reality. It's more treacherous than you can imagine. The hospitals are really corrupt just in their structure and their functioning, and they lack adequate supplies and equipment and funding.
So the first step for the engineering was to establish what movements were necessary to accommodate all the surgeries that they would need in Bangladesh. And most of this research was done by phase 1, and by the motions we're about to show you, you could accomplish 80% of all the surgeries that they would need.
So one of the first motions that we identified was necessary for a surgical table was vertical adjustment. The whole entire bed surface needs to move up and down.
The next is the lateral adjustment, which is shoulder to shoulder if you're laying down on the bed.
Another key movement we need is the Trendelenburg movement, which is the entire bed surface needs to rotate head to toe.
And finally, there's the segmentation, which is all the different parts of your body being able to move independently, as shown here. But another obstacle we had to tackle was materials, because in Bangladesh there are different circumstances, such as they have higher humidity and a monsoon season. So we had to have materials that were non-corrosive as well as lightweight to accommodate for low cost in shipping.
Another problem we identified was the need to use existing mass-produced items in an effort to keep our costs low.
At the start of the semester, we needed to address several issues. The first one being the market. We determined that we needed to develop a cost-effective, a competitive and affordable product for a market in need. As you can see on the screen, on the chart, basically a typical operating table that's brand new, top of the line in the United States would cost you about $80,000. As an alternative, you can purchase used operating tables for as low as $2,000. Our goal is to produce an operating table and selling that for $500. So another issue would be shipping. For our budget, we are including shipping as one of the costs, and that's something that our competitors do not do. So because shipping is included into the cost of our product, we needed to choose a cost-effective shipping method. Another issue that we needed to address is developing and establishing a business plan that validates our market potential for the product. And next.